I'm Patrick King, and this is SYNTHWAVE Ultra. You'd be hard-pressed to find a bigger synthwave fan than this week's guest. Between his iconic neon Guy Fawkes mask, co-hosting on Night Ride FM's The State of Synth, and boundless enthusiasm and knowledge of all things synth, he is the very definition of synth fam. Please welcome my guest this week, Julian Green. So I'm here with Mr. Julian Green, aka the one and only Neon Fawkes. Welcome. Thank you for joining me this evening.
Hey, Patrick.
So how did you get into synthwave? Like, take me back to the very beginning for you, because I know you're one of like the pillars of the synthwave community.
I think it's probably similar to many people's stories. Watched the movie Drive, fell in love with Electric Youth and Kavinsky, and then I got to downloading all the Kavinsky tracks. And I didn't know there was a synthwave genre at the time. I just thought Kavinsky was some sort of French house, which kind of is. But yeah, and then there was a barcade here in Toronto that I was going to almost weekly. And little did I know that once a month they had a synthwave night, and it was always themed. So, you know, one night, one of the first nights I went, it was a Kung Fury theme, and everybody was dressed with the, you know, little bandanas and motorcycle gloves and everything. And they started playing Kavinsky and then Gunship and all these other tracks that I'd come across on YouTube. And I was like, what the hell is this? And the night was called Synthwave Arcade. So I was like, okay, synthwave. So, you know, you go home, you type synthwave into Spotify, and boom. And then the addiction starts, right? Then you discover the Midnight, Kallax, and Dance with the Dead, Carpenter Brute, everything. And it's mainly the videos that got me into it. The Gunship YouTube videos, and the Turbo Killer by Carpenter Brute, and of course the Midnight. So yeah, that's from there on. I just started an addiction. I think, like most of us.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, that's definitely one of those things where, like, I mean, I got into it, I guess, around I can't remember if it was 2015 or 2016. But yeah, it's like, you know, 90% of what I listen to is synthwave these days. Yeah, exactly.
For me, I think it was 2016 when this happened, and yeah, I mean, pretty much 99% of what I listen to is synthwave, and that's probably not a healthy thing, but I mean, you know, this genre has everything you need. Well, and it's so much better than what's on the Billboard Top 40.
Oh man, for sure. Like, it's so funny too. Like, I feel like no matter where you go, the radio is just like, I mean, unless you're like specifically into like modern pop, you know, that's fine. But I think so much of it just like,
yeah, I know. I mean, we've lived through the pop days, you know, like our Backside Boys and things like that. So, you know, I don't need to listen to K-pop now. I don't need to see a bunch of guys or girls dancing on a stage. And don't get me started on mumble rap. Like, no, synthwave is a good place to be.
Well, yeah, and it's interesting you were saying that too, or just like that big variety, because I know, like, you had, I think that's like your pinned tweet where it's like that the Bruce Lee quote, where it's basically like, you know, synthwave can be anything and everything, which is like, I mean, that makes sense, because like you listen to, like, you know, the Midnight, Perturbator, at Dance the Dead, like that's all like falls under the synthwave umbrella, but like it's also different, and like all these different styles.
Synthwave, you know, I think in the big Venn diagram of electronic music, especially when it comes to synthwave, there's, you know, you've got cyberpunk and chiptune and you know, the dark synth and all these other genres, and they all sort of overlap in certain places, and I consider them all part of the synthwave. I mean, some experts might disagree with me, but to me, as you said, you could, if you like your stuff darker and every day's Halloween for you, then yeah, you're set, right? If you like your adult contemporary pop from the 80s, well then, you know, you've got your Ollie Rides and your Michael Oakleys and stuff like that. And then if you like your cyberpunk, oh Lord, there's no end to the amount of cyberpunk tunes out there, right? If you like John Carpenter movie soundtracks, go at it.
Well, it's especially cool too, because like he's still kind of active doing, like, active making music, because like
yeah.
he's kind of emblematic of that like actual like original 80s synth style.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it's because it wasn't it I think it was Fangoria who did that like Cthulhu compilation a couple of years ago, and like he actually had a track on there.
Yeah. So I mean, there you go. And I think what I think most people love about synthwave is if you're into some sort of geeky passion. I mean, we were talking about my board games here behind me, and or if you're into role playing, like if you know the Cthulhu mythos, or if you know horror movies, or if you know your 80s pop culture like Rambo and Predator, and you're gonna know what synthwave is. You can't help but it's you can't escape it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's funny too. It reminds me of that one meme that goes around periodically. It's like it's like what like day one of synthwave. It's like, oh yeah, let's listen to this, and like 6 months in, and it's like from what or it's like flight of the Navigator. We're just like just chrome and neon just all over the place.
Yep. That's the thing, right? I mean, you're not into synthwave. You don't have your synthwave creds unless you can name off all these movies, The Explorers, Flight of the Navigator, and the Goonies and things like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I think that's what it is. I think that's why we love this community too. We all have sort of shared passions, and we're all anchored in a lot of the same nostalgia.
Yeah, for sure. Because I mean that's the thing. That's kind of the thing that's at the heart of it is just a nostalgia factor, and how like there's because I've talked to some folks about that, how there's like nostalgia and like that kind of like escapism to like, oh yeah, like back when you were young and that sort of thing. It's just like, oh yeah, it just reminds you of being a kid again. I mean, like especially listening to folks like the Midnight and FM84.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, like it makes you feel like you're a kid. It's like, oh yeah, sunny summer days, not having to worry about bills and whatever.
I think it's also, depending on your age. I mean, when I listen to the artists like Roxy Drive or JJ Mist or Jesse Fry, and some other artists like from Italy, there's a lot of Italo disco, Italo dance, Euro dance vibes in that. And I mean, late 80s, early 90s is when I was just turning of age to go clubbing, properly. And I was hitting the dance club. So all I heard in the early 90s and late 80s was, it's either the Depeche Mode tracks or it's industrial tracks, or it was Euro dance or Italo disco. So yeah, it's synthwave to me, it's replaying for me a good 20 years, 75 to 95. It's all on replay now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. Like it's really cool whenever you see artists like what specific influences. Like you look at like Ollie Ride. I mean, obviously, I mean you and I, like we love Ollie. I mean he's fantastic.
No, yeah,
but yeah, like it's interesting how like he has like that kind of like distinct, like you said, kind of like 80s like pop style, but he also has that kind of like 70s glam, like Freddie Mercury influence.
Yep.
And then
he's proud of it too.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I mean he is just a showman, so like he absolutely has that vibe. And then you have like somebody like on kind of the like more of the 90s end of the spectrum, you have Michael Oakley, who like especially with his most recent album has more of a like that early 90s influence. So like it's interesting how it's very all encompassing like that.
Yeah. I agree. It's a lot of these artists. What baffles me is there are a lot of synthwave artists out there who are in their 30s. Some in their late 20s, some even younger. And they take inspiration from the 80s and the 90s. And I mean, they were either just a thought in their parents' minds when that time period was rolling around, or they'd just been popped out at the hospital. And I don't know, maybe the hospital had background music on or something, must have influenced these kids. But I say kids because I'm old.
You're only as old as you feel, right?
Yeah.
No, that's for sure though, because I mean, I feel like kind of from what I can tell, the kind of median age for a lot of synthwave artists is like around like early mid 30s. I mean, I know like Ollie Ride is, I think he's 30 or 31 or something like that. And then yeah, you have folks like who are in like their early 20s, which is, it's just really interesting how they just find, I guess they find that style and just kind of like vibe with it.
Yep.
Yeah. So kind of I guess kind of the next thing. So who are or not who are? So you're one of the co-hosts of State of Synth on Night Ride FM. So how did you
Night Ride FM?
Yeah. Oh, nice.
Can't see it, but
so how did you get going on that?
Oh, geez, that was just luck of the draw. I was, by then I was pretty active on social media, and I made it my mission to follow as many synthwave artists or producers as I could, or podcasters, or labels. And you know me, I never shut up on Twitter, so I'm always popping my, I'm saying comments and stuff. So little by little, I got to be known, and that barcade I was telling you about, I became such a regular. I used to just look over the DJ's shoulders as they DJ'd, and they were showing me the software they use, which is Tractor. And one day I decided to buy myself a DJ controller off Amazon, and bought Tractor for $100 and started futzing around. And these guys gave me some tips, and then they let me start DJing there. So then I started these tweets where I'm like, I used to post little clips of a certain artist's track I'm playing at the bar, and they loved it. So little by little, I got known within the community. And Dennis, who was already involved with the Night Ride guys, just reached out to me one day and said, hey, would you like to co-host a show with me? At the time, he had his own shows called Synthwave on the Fringes, where he'd play lesser known synthwave or stuff that was sort of bordering on synthwave, pushing the limits, expanding your mind. But he decided to have me on, and we started this show called The State of Synth on Night Ride. And that's it. And then shortly afterwards, Andy Last had me do some contributions to his top fives that he had. I think that they were weekly at the time, but he just couldn't keep up with the production.
That's for sure. Because I remember when what was it? The high fives, right?
Yeah. And Andy's high fives, yeah.
Nice.
But I mean, he was doing his big video episodes, and then he was doing his radio podcast episodes, and he takes a lot of time to edit because he's got experience in podcasting and video production and stuff like that. He's done radio before on various other sites. So yeah, poor guy. One of the nice things about Dennis and I doing the State of Synth live is there's really not much editing required. We sit down, we do the 2 hours live, and we're done. So you get all the mistakes that come with that too, which is part of the fun.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's definitely that sort of like unpredictability, and like we're working without a safety net of doing it live like that.
Yeah, are we allowed to swear on this little interview? Because I was going to do that Bill O'Reilly. Fuck it, we're doing it live. You can bleep that out.
Fucking thing sucks. Oh, I know. Well, yeah, it's funny too because yeah, like when before I started this, I was like reaching out to like you and Karin and Andy just to say, hey, what, if you have any tips or anything like that. And I remember she was saying how like and he was saying too, to just like taking your time to go through and edit and make it nice and clean and all that. So that has been kind of one of the things about it, where I've been trying to like make it so it's like relatively naturalistic, but also cut out like if I mean there have been times where like the guest then will go on like a 20-minute tangent about something and just like this probably isn't relevant to the regular viewer. So we can just cut.
You can't help but not, right?
Right. Yeah. Exactly. I mean, that's part of the fun of it. So one of the things like you're best known for is your iconic Neon Fawkes mask. So
yes.
So how did that come about?
I don't know. You know what? Like everyone who loves synthwave, a lot of our artists especially the ones who are more instrumental,
Mhm.
they all wear masks. Most of them do. And I've always had a thing for V for Vendetta and Guy Fawkes, right? And I figured, you know what, I'm gonna make a mask and I'm gonna put neon on it. And mainly it was because I was such a fan, and I was going to once I got into this, I started going to all the concerts I could here in Toronto, and then I started branching out and heading down to Buffalo, where I met you in person.
Yeah.
But I always decided some of the artists that I went to see, they would interact with me online. So I decided to wear my mask because I was my avatar online now. Decided to make a mask and wear it at the concert so they'd know it was me. And that's pretty much it, right? And then just all over social media, you're gonna see that mask making stupid, silly comments.
No, that's cool. Like, I mean, like you've definitely established that as your brand and your style. And I mean, I remember talking with like Karan about that. How I always love how you can go to pretty much any synthwave artist Bandcamp page, and it'll have little icons of who's bought this. And it's like, sure enough, there's the little pink Neon Fawkes icon.
I got to show you my melted husk of a credit card. But yeah, no, you know what? So when I started getting the opportunity to DJ, I never knew what Bandcamp was. And at first I started ripping things off YouTube and SoundCloud, but they're in crap quality. Mm-hmm. And then when I actually got an official job doing like DJs once a month, I decided, okay, well, you know what? I'm only going to spin stuff that I've bought, right? So then I started getting hooked on Bandcamp and being able to download in whatever format you want. It became an addiction. Mm-hmm. And then, artists started noticing and saying, oh, thank you for the purchase. And now I've dug myself a hole because now I want to buy everything and make sure I don't miss anyone. I don't want anyone to feel left out.
Oh.
So yeah, I don't know. My synthwave folder, I've got a massive synthwave folder, and normally when I DJ, I don't really plan sets. I just look through my massive synthwave folder and try and find something that is beat matched or key matched. Mm-hmm. But that's now I've got that notoriety. My face plastered all over Bandcamp.
Well, it's funny too. I feel like it's become kind of a recurring joke at this point. But like whenever there's Bandcamp Friday, like if Bandcamp ever goes down, we know why.
Yep. I think they learned early last year. They fixed their servers because they knew there was people like me and also Uncle DevJock. Mm-hmm. Who's on social media, and Death by Neon, who's also a producer. He makes more soundtrack music, but his collection is the biggest I know in our little scene on Bandcamp. He's up in the 8,000-9,000 items in his collection.
Oh my god!
I'm barely scratching 3,000.
Jeez, that's crazy.
And then there's another guy who's also a producer, Connor. Mm-hmm. But these are the Bandcamp giants. And then I've made friends on Bandcamp too, people who don't use Twitter. But Dave Rodenberg from Vancouver, mm-hmm. He's a prolific Bandcamp buyer. And a few other people too. So yay for them, because it's nothing's more rewarding than giving back to the artists that make your life better.
Oh yeah, for sure. I think that's one of the things that I really like about the synthwave, like the whole synthwave community, is how it is very like tight knit community oriented like that. And mm-hmm. it's really easy to directly support the artists, and like the artists are also they're all super approachable. So yeah, just like what you were saying, how like a lot of times if you buy something from them, or even if you share their stuff, they're like they'll specifically reach out to you and like oh thanks. It's just like that's
I know
cool.
It's not like you if you bought something from the weekend off the Apple store or something, it's not like he's going to reach out and text you and say, hey, thanks, right? Mm-hmm. No, at least our community is small enough. You can still reach out and almost touch the artist. Mm-hmm. Is that creepy? Yeah, so that's the other thing. On State of Synth, I like to always say happy birthday to all the artists. So I start friending all their personal pages on Facebook, which is a bit creepy, but it's so I can get their birthday notifications.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, because I do like that how you'll do that on Facebook, or not on Facebook, on Twitter. Or it's always
Twitter,
like
yeah,
happy birthday to so and so. It's
every
that's,
day.
yeah, like that's so nice of you to do that, and just give
Yeah,
people that
well, I mean, the
recognition.
art, they're human beings, but also all our fellow fans, all our fellow artists, right? It's good to know that, hey, it's this person's birthday today. Maybe, pay attention to him. Go to his
Yeah.
Bandcamp page. I don't know.
Yeah, it's a good way to promote folks and get their names out of it.
Yep, yep. I somehow, and I don't know how I did this, but just being a Twitter whore, I'm close to 7,000 followers, and in our little scene, that's significant. I mean, I'm nowhere near Andy with his 30 some odd thousand, but I mean, if I say happy birthday or I mention an artist's name, there's 7,000 people who might be seeing my post in their feed. I don't know if it drives attention their way, a follower, a purchase. I hope even better.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know about you, but I grew up. I was a geek. I was a computer geek, video game nerd, right? So the arts, I never fully appreciated them. I love my 80s music, my 90s music. I love music in general, and I love going to clubs, but it was something I consumed, but they really didn't pay attention to. Most of the artists were on labels, and they're from other countries, and they're not reachable, they're not tangible. So my passions were mainly video games, computers, gadgets, home automation, board games, you name it. And when the synthwave scene swallowed me up and consumed me, now I've just done a 180. My appreciation for the arts and for the artists is just right up here.
Yeah, that's great, because like you said, I mean, I think just like between like the community and like social media and stuff like that, it does make it easier to see them as like actual people, not just these like abstract names creating music from like
Exactly,
far away Europe or something.
I know you download some like mega mix or something off the internet, and it's got these artist names, and you're, well, I don't know. No, it's not like that.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, like now you can actually find them on like Twitter and Instagram, and like see a picture of them and like their cats or something.
Yeah, exactly. Or them taking, like Morgan Willis, taking selfies of him swimming in the south of France because he can, but they're all of them, majority of them are all just so nice.
Yeah, for sure. Especially like on like Twitter and stuff. Like I was fortunate enough to talk to him recently. But I feel like one of the highlights on Twitter is always seeing Alpha Chrome Yayo in his Friday evening dinners.
Hey, oh my God! For his food posts, yeah, and I mean, we've all seen his Bandcamp live performances, and his music is just incredible, right? It's I recently did a groupies. I was invited to curate a groupies, and a lot of people had seen. There's been quite a few synthwave groupies bundles, but none of them had an Alpha Chrome Yayo in them. And so I asked him, can I throw your album in 19th hole? And he's like, yeah, go ahead. And the amount of comments I got in the groupies about people who discovered him are like, this is awesome. This guy's crazy. And then, yeah, wait till you see his posts.
He's so much fun just because like
he is.
His music is so like it's so just varied and eclectic, and yeah, he's such a great online personality because like he's like him and his like silly long greyhound and like
if there was a subgenre of synthwave called like synth jazz or jazz wave, that's him. But what a character.
Oh, I know. He's like I loved his post today where it was him and his dog out for a walk, but it was like his black and white picture, and he's like
he was about to drop like a rap album.
and we're actually just gonna go home and make some soup. But that is one of the things that's cool, is just because it's like this really like tight, it's this very tight knit scene, but like it's also very welcoming, because like I've talked to folks who still relatively new to it, but like they've said that how like they like how like just like welcoming and like positive people are.
I think I've said this many times. I think the synthwave scene, because it's a very niche genre, and it's kind of global, right? And there's a shared passion. Everybody's in this, sort of glued together by the nostalgia.
Mm-hmm.
All the various aesthetics that make up retrowave, synthwave, cyberpunk, you name it, right? Chipwave, chiptune, dark synth. So in a sense, we're not part of the mainstream. And I equate it to going to Comic-Con. You go to Comic-Con, you've got video game nerds, cosplay nerds, movie nerds, right? TV show nerds, sci-fi, fantasy, you name it. But they're all it's a niche. Well, maybe not so much anymore, but you know very well, if that's your passion and that's your interest, and you meet a group of people who share it in that situation, you're gonna have a good time, right?
Mm-hmm.
So synthwave is like Comic-Con, but music. And that's why when we have these big concerts, big festivals, they're rare, especially after the past 2 years. But man, people have so much fun when we go to see concerts together, and we're all like rubbing shoulders, watching the midnight, or something like Outland in Toronto, where you've got 8 artists and you get to do selfies with them. That was my shtick too. Always doing my O face when I'm getting a selfie with an artist.
Oh no! Okay, I was gonna say too. I know that's like one of your trademarks. Your picture. We're just like.
Yep. You know what? I always tell artists, I'm fangirling, and I am.
Mm-hmm.
When I get to meet these artists, because remember, I was never that big into music. I just consumed it. But actually going to concerts and being able to meet face to face that artist who's creating the music now that we listen to day in and day out, I'm fangirling.
Mm-hmm.
So these artists, they think, oh, I'm just Joe Schmo with a DAW and a keyboard at home, and I'm playing at these small dungeon bars, right? No, you're a superstar to me. I want my selfie.
Yeah, for sure. And oh man, so speaking of Outland too, like I mean, I know it's been like 2 years now.
You're kicking yourself.
Yeah, geez. I seriously feel like Outland Toronto was just like a game changer, just because it was so big, and like I mean, it's 2 years on, and I still see people talking about it. I'm like, I wish I could have gone.
So here's the thing, like back in 2018 and 2017, there were other festivals in North America. There was Ecosynthetic Fest down in Atlanta, and then there was Neo LA on the West Coast, and then of course Neon Rose, Neon RI, Rhode Island. They had 2 events, I think, right? And they were planning the 3rd when COVID hit, and that was going to be an incredible lineup. Von Kaiser was going to be playing, Honeybeard was supposed to play, various artists, but Outland is known. The UK, and especially London and France, they have a lot of artists, and it's pretty easy for them to do these really cool shows where they feature either 6 to 10 artists, and they've got the Outland Cruise, and you've got all these other all these other groups who organize events over in the UK, and there's a slight difference in the artists. Sometimes I notice in synthwave there's a bit of a clique.
Mm-hmm.
There's the European, the UK artists, and you've got your North American artists, and they're broken down by the ones down south or east, and you've got your West Coast artists. So when Outland came to Toronto, that was bringing a bit of that UK clique over to the North Americans. And so for a lot of us North Americans, especially those of us who lived in Toronto, we didn't have to travel far, right? I mean, you didn't have to get on a plane to go over the Atlantic. You could hop in a car and drive up to Toronto to see Kallax, right? Or Time Cop, and so yeah, Outland was awesome. It was a game changer. But there were other festivals. Majority of those times, those festivals featured more of the local North American acts, and they would import 1 or 2 artists from Europe. But hopefully, when this mess is over, we'll all be experiencing this again.
Hopefully, yeah, because yeah, so far the only live synth shows I've seen are the Midnight obviously in Buffalo a couple of years ago, which was amazing. And then I remember seeing Carpenter Brut open for Ministry. I could actually hear it in Rochester a couple of years ago, which was also really cool. But yeah, I mean, but yeah, I mean that's the thing too. I feel like even just like the proximity to Toronto. I mean, because it seemed like at one point Toronto was like, I mean, especially kind of going back to Outland, that was kind of like almost the core of like the North American synthwave scene, because you got like I feel like quite a few people either in the area or like kind of near there. Because I know like Michael Oakley's around there, Damaging Phoenix is around there, so you've got
we had Parallels, we had Michael Oakley, you know, Dana Jean Phoenix, Mecha Maiko. There was quite a few artists in Toronto, especially some of the, you know, more well-known artists. But you'd be surprised. There's filling a venue, unless you're the Midnight or Carpenter Brut, filling a venue in Toronto is still hard, even for a Michael Oakley. I mean, when Nina came here to Toronto, it was dead. I mean, really? Michael Oakley, Parallels, and Nina on the bill, and it was dead. So yeah, it's I used to joke that Toronto has more synth artists than fans. I think I like to always equate synthwave fans to, you know, the movie I, Robot. You remember the robots hanging out in the containers, all huddled together? That's that's synthwave fans. They're out there in a city or in whatever town you live in, but they don't know about each other. Half of them aren't on social media, and so they don't, and half the time they don't know that there's a synthwave concert coming up where they can meet like-minded people. That's another reason why I started my synthwave events calendar. When I found out, I started going to synthwave concerts here in Toronto, and then I found out like 3 weeks ago Dance with the Dead was in town, and I didn't know. I was like, okay, well, how do I find out about concerts without having to search for every potential band name? And then, you know, Songkick and bands in town were useless. So then I decided, well, if I'm following 1,800 artists, why don't I just create a synthwave concert list, and nobody has to miss a concert ever again.
We're all the better for your efforts. No, that is cool. Like, it's just because, yeah, like, I mean, kind of like, I mean, that's, you know, just with stuff like that, and then just like, you know, like shows like this. Like, I also have my big Bandcamp list where it's like, here's where you can find everybody's Bandcamp for Bandcamp Fridays, and I don't know, like, it is like, I do think it's cool how like there is just that strong sense of community where people like, you know, people want to help and like support the artists they like, because like you said, like, it's such a niche thing that these people are like, you know, superstars to us.
That's one of the other things, like, on social media, when I never really used Instagram or Twitter much until I fell down the synthwave rabbit hole. Because if I wanted to interact with friends and family, that's what Facebook was for. But then I started following artists, and I love the fact that Twitter, for me, was a new platform where I could just put my little mask up, and the only thing I follow on Twitter is synthwave artists and, you know, fellow fans, podcasters, and labels. So that feed is clean. I'm not getting nonsense in my feed. I'm not following politicians. I'm not following celebrities, things like that. It's just synthwave. And it's healthy, because, you know, I don't get all that crap that social media, a lot of people bitch about when it comes to social media. Now, my feed is nothing but synthwave artists, you know, either make cracking jokes, telling us there's a new release coming out, or they're going to be performing, or asking for advice from fellow artists, right? So it's a good, healthy environment. And unfortunately, you know, I don't follow, I've got, as I said, close to 7,000 followers, but I don't follow that many people, because I need my feed to be clean, you know. And I hope that when I reshare and retweet things and stuff, whoever's following me is like me. They're enjoying this scene, and they want to use me as a sort of a jumping off point to follow other artists and follow other personalities, right? Like you creating that list. Sometimes I point people to my Bandcamp following. Like, if you like this and if you like that, if you like this whole genre and you want to see all of it, well, go look at who I'm following on Bandcamp. And there you go. Also, my insanely huge Spotify playlist doesn't have the most followers because when it comes to curating, that Spotify playlist was mainly for myself. I wanted to add every artist that I discovered. And of course, as I follow them and they come out with new tracks, I'll add their new tracks. But I always want to sort it so that the newest stuff or newest discoveries were at the top. So my playlist is not really meant for a quick listen on a weekend, because it would take you 2-3 weeks to get through my playlist. My playlist is more to hit random, like randomize or just hit play from the top, because I've added new discoveries at the top, whether they're new releases from new artists or a new artist I've discovered. It could be some guy who just created his first Bandcamp page and his first Spotify artist page, and he's got one album and he's rough around the edges, but I'm going to add him to my playlist because he's synthwave, and it's a good way to encourage him to keep going. And hopefully other people will add him to their playlist, and
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think that's it's funny to say that, because that's basically like the exact same idea I have behind my big synthwave playlist as well. It's just like adding anything and everything. Well, I mean, mainly for yourself, but also so people can hit shuffle and oh, there's find something cool and new.
Exactly. And like you, I mean, there was a point where every week I used to blast out new additions to my synthwave playlist, and I used to do those little whole bunch of GIFs along and tag all the artists. Right now, obviously I'm trying to get noticed by the artists, like, hey, look, I added you to my playlist. Hey, right, yeah. But at the same time, I want to give back to the artists, right? Not only am I adding them to my Spotify playlist, which I'm not going to give them any money really, but I'm purchasing stuff on Bandcamp anyway, so I got that covered. But I want people who like synthwave, who, if they search for synthwave on Spotify, if they see Synthwave 101, want them to go, oh wow, okay, I've never heard of him or him or him or him. Follow. And like you, when I tweet out additions to my playlist, I want people to say, hey, here's the artist, here's his Twitter handle, so you can find him. Here's his Bandcamp, so you can go purchase and follow. And I mean, I love what you were doing with the database thing. Andy has his own on his own webpage. But it would be nice to take all 1,900 or 2,000 artists that we know and just fill out that sheet, so that anybody wants to, if they discover Alpha Chrome Yayo, well, in one line, here's his Instagram, here's his Twitter, here's his SoundCloud, here's his Bandcamp, here's his Spotify, here's his Facebook, boom, follow.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because again, that was kind of the idea behind that. Because just Bandcamp list, where in the world they are, just
exactly,
if you're interested in that, because I know you have your different Twitter lists where it's Irish synthwave artists and Canadian synthwave artists. I think that's really cool how you've done that.
I think it's because I noticed that sometimes artists live in certain places and they don't know that there's another artist in that small town that they live in, because they don't follow 1,900 artists. But I figured, it would be great to keep track of that information and show that this town has this many artists, more than you thought. I mean, recently I had to add Iran to my Twitter list, because I discovered this new artist from Iran.
Oh wow!
So now I've got the Iranian synth scene.
Nice. That's cool.
Yeah. And India, India's got probably a good 10, 11 artists, probably more. We have yet to discover them.
Big country,
yeah. But there's people out there who, it doesn't matter where you were living, they probably watched, Rambo or Predator or something, right? Or watched when they were younger, right? And they're probably making music that's influenced by that era or that aesthetic. And some of those artists might not even know that synthwave exists. So hey, bring them into the fold, stick them into a Twitter list.
Welcome. It's like I'll say online. Welcome to Synth Fam. Here's your.
Yeah, exactly. Oh my
Here's
God.
your Neon Fawkes shirt. Thanks. You be nice and stay retro.
Oh, I gotta tell you, my shirt too. So when I got into the scene, Vlingo
Mhm.
was, I mean, Vlingo and Faith in the Glitch. I looked up to those guys because Vlingo was like the biggest fan, but he did proper write-ups and blogs and things like that. And I was like, man, I wish like I can't make music to save my ass yet. But
Yeah.
but I think, okay, maybe I can do what he's doing, write album reviews or promote or share artists and things like that. And then I looked at Faith in the Glitch, who not only is he a synthwave DJ, but he's also an electro swing DJ. And I love electro swing. I was like, what? You could be a synthwave DJ and an electro? So I worship the ground he walks on. But Vlingo, one of the things about Vlingo was all the artists who were part of the clique, who are in the know or who knew anybody, had a Vlingo t-shirt. I was like, you know what? I need a Vlingo t-shirt. And then as I started to get a little bit more known on social media, I was like, I'm going that trip to London to see Ollie Ride in 2019. I decided, you know what? I'm going to get some t-shirts made because a friend of mine had kindly made my logo for me. She even made an animation.
Oh yeah,
I was
that's
like,
right. I remember that.
yeah. So I figured, let's get some t-shirts made. So I got them printed here in Toronto. And then I started asking online, are you going to the Ollie Ride concert? Are you going to the Ollie Ride concert? Fans and artists. I was like, oh, you are? What size shirt are you? And all of a sudden, I didn't mean to do this, but I pulled a Vlingo and made my shirt ubiquitous.
Mhm.
And when you got people like Nina, in a photo wearing your shirt and all these other artists and fans, I was like, wow, cool, right? Like, look at me, they know who I am.
Right? No, that's awesome. Yeah,
I didn't mean to steal Vlingo's thunder or anything. That was just, and that cost me, man, that was good $1,500 or something. I just got carried away with it. I was like, okay, I'm getting these people some shirts, and I didn't want to charge for it. I was just being nice, Mr. Friendly. And then I thought, oh my God, I'm forgetting about this person. I can't leave them feel left out. So boom, 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 boom.
That's so
But hey,
nice.
it's fun. It's fun, man. It was fun. I got to get more shirts made. I've got a TeePublic or a Teespring site up, but the quality is not as good as the ones I got made in Toronto. So
Mhm.
I'm
Yeah,
gonna work on that.
Yeah, it's just funny because I feel like I remember Nina posting a picture relatively recently, like wearing your shirt. I'm like, that's so cool.
No, that was me. That was me. It was uh, I think, was it her birthday? I think, yeah, it was her birthday recently. And so I posted a pic from the Ollie Ride concert in London. I took that photo where I met her the night before at the Rise of the Synths movie screening.
Yeah.
And so I gave her shirt, and then she showed up at the Ollie Ride concert wearing my shirt. So I said, all right, I take a photo of that. And so it was her birthday. So a couple of weeks ago or last week. So I had to post that photo. But see, I mean, I don't know about you, but we're fans first and foremost, right? So stuff like this, if you had told me someone like an artist like Nina would be wearing my shirt, or I'd be having selfies with like Michael Oakley making goofy faces, if you had told me that like 3 years ago, I would have spit my coffee out laughing, in disbelief. So yeah, we're very lucky. This is a very cool scene, great artists.
For sure, yeah, and it's good music, but it's also good people too. There's a reason why synth fam is a thing. It's just because people are really cool and approachable.
So there are some characters in the synthwave scene, artists and fans alike, who are starting to cringe when the word synth fan comes up because they're too cool for school, and this whole synth fam thing is just too cheesy. Yeah, well, they're in the family, they're the ones who stay in the basement playing video games while the rest of us have fun.
it's like my dad's weird friends are over.
Yeah, exactly. Every family has some, but
oh yeah, of course.
But I don't know about, I think most of us who are in the synthwave scene, it's done a lot of good for us mentally and emotionally, right? Listening to this music and rubbing shoulders online or in person with our fellow fans and artists. And I'll tell you right now, after this COVID, these artists, you appreciate them even more. And I think they need to hear this, that a lot of people's mental health took a big hit in the last 2 years.
Yeah.
Even some of this, I mean, I consider myself pretty strong when it comes to resiliency, mental health and resiliency. But I mean, even the last 2 years pushed me to some real like depressive moments where, you know, I wasn't listening as much as I could to synthwave. I wasn't online as much. And then all the negative stuff going on the internet and politically, you know, that you had the American elections, you've got this going on in this part of the world and that, you got COVID hitting, BLM.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's been damn hard the last 2 years for a lot of us. And these artists, they're suffering too. And what do? They sit in front of their DAWs, their keyboards, their keytars, their guitars, their drums, and they just keep cranking out music. And they put it out there and we can hear it. And, you know, like, they're amazing. Artists are amazing. They probably saved a lot of people's bacon.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. I mean, that's the thing too. I mean, like, I feel like everybody has at least one song or album that they can go to, or just like,
exactly.
You know, you listen to it and like, you know, things may be crap right now, but like, listen to the song and things are fine for at least just a couple minutes. So yeah, I'm right there with you on that.
Like, yeah, Gunship last year did that cover of
wasn't it Eleanor Rigby, right?
Yeah, Eleanor Rigby. I mean, Gunship hadn't put an album for just over a year, right? And all of us are in misery. You know, sure, we're getting a lot of releases from some of the smaller artists because there's always a release. There's so many artists, right? But when Gunship, you know, just pops a surprise and says, "Oh yeah, here's a track," and it's, you know, it's a cover of Eleanor Rigby, which is already haunting and sad, but the lyrics, all of us listening to that, it's therapeutic. You're like, ah, God, we're all thinking the same thing, you know, and Gunship put out a track. So it's not that bad of a day. You know, Gunship's still alive and they're still making music. So, yep.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I mean, it's just like a big shared experience like that. They're just something really special about that.
No, yeah. It's artists. As I said, these artists need to know that they art now you know why art exists, right? And that, like, imagine a world without, you know, graphic arts or musical arts or you know, novels and poems and things like that. Imagine the misery we just went through without any of that.
Yeah, not having that kind of like, you know, escapism or just like expressing it, kind of like, you know, being able to, I guess, like interpret it, you know. Yeah. All right, cool. Well, was there anything else you want to like add or promote here?
No, wow. I'll promote nightride.fm. You know, it's an incredible internet radio station. So if you like synthwave, it's just nonstop 24/7 music for you. And they've got different channels too. They've got the Chill Synth channel. And they've also got the 80s. They're sort of partnered with the 80s guy. And of course, the State of Synth, Dennis, my co-host, he's amazing. He's the one who does all the broadcasting. He does a lot of the forklifting on this. And I just kind of show up and act like a clown online, you know. So, but yeah, and Cara and Zoe Lee's on Night Ride as well as Vampire. So yeah, it's good. I'll plug them for sure. And I'd like to say thank you again to all the artists for making all the music. I mean, and then once again to fellow fans like you. And when we get around to doing content like this is our way of trying to give back, right?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, to share the love with our fellow fans and give back to the artists.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like this is like I feel like that's been one of the big things I've been doing with this is like, this is kind of like a way to, like, you know, for people to actually get to know the artist and, you know, like folks from the community to like, synthwave, there's this wonderful thing for everybody.
Yeah, and here, this is what Neon Fawkes really is like. Oh, I gotta also do a shout out to my rad pack, Karen Zoe Lee, Joe Loke, and Ashley Anita, aka Forged in Neon. She's lucky. She's closer to the UK events than we are. So this past, when is this? This is airing in February, right? So this past fall, winter, she's going to be having a lot of fun, or will have had a lot of fun. But hopefully you and I will too.
For sure, yeah. Hopefully things will kind of hopefully settle down a bit, and we can get some more things going, because they're I mean they're like with like Neon Rose, Watch Out for Snakes is doing Terminus Retro stuff down in the Atlanta area. So
yeah, you've also got Nitrowave TC, the Twin Cities. So I mean, there's a lot of there's we lost Neo LA and Echo Synthetic, but little by little these other artists or groups are picking the slack up and starting these concert events, like monthly events, or even something bigger, right? Like these Neon Rose that you mentioned over in Portland.
Mm-hmm. No, there's things definitely took a hit in the last 2 years, but it's only upward from here.
Yeah, we're all poking our heads out like gophers, looking around. Wait, there's a concert.
Is it safe yet? Yes, kind of.
Kind of, sort of. Wear your mask.
Yeah. All right, man. Well, it was awesome talking to you this evening. So I'll go ahead and let you go. But I'll.
Thank you, Patrick, thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah, of course, man.
It was great talking to you.
Yeah, you as well. I mean, like I said, you're definitely one of the pillars of the synthwave scene. So I was glad to be able to talk to you.
No, I'm not. Stop it.
Oh, you.
Oh, stop. All right. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. I'll talk to you later.
Yep.
Thanks for watching. That was my conversation with Julian Green, aka Neon Fawkes. Be sure to check out his Synthwave 101 playlist on Spotify, his Synthwave events calendar, follow him on Twitter and Instagram, and tune into the State of Synth every Wednesday evening on Night Ride FM. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Patrick King Art. Make sure to check out the Synthwave Ultra playlist on Spotify for loads of synthwave of all sorts. Don't forget to like this video, leave a comment, and subscribe to this channel for more great synthwave conversations. Thanks again, and we'll see you next time on Synthwave Ultra.